close that. So we got some volume on this thing.
You got the scrapes and everything where I drug you.
Do what? All right, so this is live. Let's see who we got. We got some people. Give people a chance to get on here.
So how do I pull it up?
Just go to my channel. Search me. Let's see if I can find.
On my page, not yours. Well, no,
All right.
it is.
Do what?
So your
But-
current live streams. This is your
Does that?
page.
Yeah, that should be current live stream.
One watch.
I want to pull it up here just so I can see see
should-
chats.
Or should I go to me?
All right, we got Dawes here. All right, Riley, fantastic.
Cut the volume down.
I'm gonna try to get this set up so that I can
Turn your camera.
be able to see
It sideways.
chats. Do what?
Turn your camera sideways.
If I turn it vertical, will it do what I wanted to do?
See?
Okay, let's see. The holder won't work. We can do it that way.
There we go.
Okay, I can do that. Let's see if I can do something different with the holder here. I am the holder.
Let me see.
Okay. What?
I was going to see if I could help you out here.
No, that won't. That doesn't twist on. It won't. So we'll just have to go with
That
it.
one's not like the one at home?
No, not like that.
Okay.
All right, guys. So I thought I'd pop on here for a little live action. Here we're getting close to sunset, and the end of the day was going to answer some questions if anybody had questions, and just kind of give a chance to give many of you a feel for what we've got here. Interesting situation. It wasn't exactly what we set out for. I will say that when we packed this time to come to Jerusalem, I felt compelled to bring a backpack. Told Kelly, pack a backpack. We got so we have some nice it's nice backpacking bug out bags, and so we came actually with full camping gear, backpacks ready to roll, and just came for the feast. Brought some extra stuff, but at the end of the day, if I had to shed a few pounds right quick, I could put the rest of it on my back and walk away, which was an interesting change or challenge to the normal feast operation. So fantastic. No, Rainmaker, not going to be cooked. Did get some great sun on the Med Wednesday of last week. We spent about 5 or 6 hours on the beach. Kelly and Gunner, Lily all wanted to put their feet in the Med. We went swimming, enjoyed it. It was and for us, observing the Zadokite calendar, that was the first day of Sukkot for us. So it was a high day. We drove out there, took lunch, took some beverages, and just enjoyed the time at the beach. It was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So good stuff. Is it still sideways? Is my camera still sideways? It was initially sideways, and then it looks like it looks like, for me, I'm right side up. It doesn't matter what I do with the camera.
You're fine.
But let me flip the camera around, see if this will give me the ability to flip the camera around. See, I had that just a second ago, and I don't see that now. Huh. Save share. Nope. Oh, there it is. So this is the view from our balcony. We are the top floor of a 3-story apartment building. And from here we are looking, actually in that direction is Gaza, probably about 35 or 40 miles. What you hear is some of the parrots. I'll see if I can get a couple. I don't know if I can zoom in. But there's a botanical garden right here below us, and there are a bunch of parrots that enjoy, a couple of them right there on that branch, but they enjoy making a lot of noise and flying all over the place here. Interesting juxtaposition to the, well, come back out here, juxtaposition to the circumstances that we're in, and everybody around us is very autocorrect. All right. Circumstances are interesting for us, but the nature doesn't seem to mind, doesn't seem to matter. They don't feel it, they don't see it. You can hear jets overhead, which makes this makes a little bit interesting. But it was from this vantage point actually the other morning. Now we got up for Shabbat. It was to be our last day. We were going to be departing around, leaving here around midnight on Shabbat, headed to the airport, maybe a little bit earlier. And actually we got up that morning and Gunnar notified me that he had an alert on his phone with all kinds of rocket strikes south of us along the Gaza area. So we looked at that. We were sitting here looking at that, just wondering what in the world's going on. And I finally decided, I said, I need to go wake Kelly up and tell her to get dressed just in case we have to do something, move, whatever. And as I got into her room to wake her up, and the sirens here in Jerusalem went off, and she sat bolt upright in bed, and her eyes were as big as saucers. And I was like, well, things have gotten interesting, and our day is going to be very different today than we originally anticipated. And everything since then has been very different. For me, it's been interesting to watch. A little bit of it reminds me of the air war stage of Desert Shield, Desert Storm, where we sat waiting. We spent a lot of time watching and waiting. And just trying to relax and wait until the time, the time came for us to go into battle. And we spent 45 days doing nothing but watching overhead bombers go over, fighter jets come across us, get warnings for incoming Scud missiles. And to me, this is very similar here. Nothing major or different than that time frame. So. Gunnar, thank you. And actually, Gunnar, my son there, was here for all of that, and his airplane was not canceled, so both he and Lily flew out Saturday night, Sunday morning time frame, early, the wee hours of the morning. We got to the airport. Kelly and I took them to the airport around 8, 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and the airport, the inside of the terminal was jam-packed. We could see it from the outside. It was wall-to-wall people. It was crazy. And they'd send us periodic updates from the queue. I'll find out in the morning if I got to pick you up or not. Every time I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom or whatever, I'd check my phone and see the progress, and ultimately Gunnar made his flight, and then Lily made hers later as they both flew out. But ours was canceled early in the day or middle of the day on Shabbat, and we just knew that we were going to be staying here at least for the short term. Currently we have a flight scheduled to go out Friday, assuming nothing else gets crazy. Although watching the world, there appears to be this ongoing escalation, and so in the meantime, I would just do some video reporting and continue to sit here and watch and see. So can y'all hear the jets? I can hear these up there. There should be a low rumble in the background, but jets have been up and over here. We've had some helicopters, some very close. We had one come over last night they were at rooftop level coming over top of stuff. And I don't know where they came up out of. They were just right over here, over the top of the hill, somewhere just on the other side of the tower. That really looks like it's far away, but it's not. That's maybe 1.5 kilometers to that tower right there. And it came just up over from that side. They were right over in here. But we have helicopters over here all night, and during the day, jets are flying all day, and then you hear the occasional alarm. We were out for a walk a while ago, and just walking. I got in some exercise earlier today, did a bunch of push-ups, and then partly to burn off energy and partly just to deal with frustration, whatever. You just kind of work it out. And then this afternoon went out for a long walk, and toward the end of the walk, all of a sudden the alarm went off, and there were some people scurrying for doorways and scurrying for shelters, and there are some shelters here. And then other people just sitting there on the side of the road, smoking, watching, filming the sky or whatever. My mindset at this point is statistical probability that we're perfectly safe. There's nothing very close unless it's a really big piece of munitions, which I don't think is going on. And the other side is if it's my time, it's my time. It doesn't matter whether I'm in the shelter or not. So I keep going back to great tune by Sons of Korah that set Psalm 91 to music, and I'll have to put that up at some point. I'll put that in one of the Telegram groups that we've got. There's been a lot of communication going on with the patron men and with some of the Telegram, some of the Torah keeping patriarchal men that I've got in another group. And if you're looking for you go to any of my other videos in the comments section or the information at the bottom. There are my Telegram contact information, as well as information for Patreon. Certainly patriarchal men who are Torah keeping, happy to have them in my men's Telegram group. And then those who are interested in supporting what we do, primarily dealing with marriage and headship and patriarchy, although right now it includes a little bit of reporting and maybe some discussion on eschatology and stuff. We can do that too. That's over the Patreon side. So those links you'll find underneath most any of my other videos. So I've been pondering this, trying to figure out what in the world's going on here. What's the plan and purpose? I know we've got 10,000 ideas and different thought processes on eschatology and everything. Scripture tells us, and this is something Christendom does not have their head wrapped around, and Judaism does not either. Neither understands that there are more prophecies about the restoration of Kol Israel, the regathering of the tribes, and specifically the gathering and collecting of the house of Israel and the house of Judah, and bringing them back to the land. There are more prophecies about that than even of the Messiah. But for that to happen, some amazing things have to happen here in the land. And part of that has to do significantly with a series of events that enlarge the land, so much so that Judah cannot hold it themselves. You can take land, but if you can't put boots on the ground, you don't own it. At the end of the day, this is why the Air Force is useless without the Army or without the Marines. Now, the flip side is that the Army and the Marines need the Air Force as much as we say we don't. It's awfully convenient for them to soften targets before we have to go do the hard work, right? The heavy lifting. But my point is if Israel expands its borders the way that prophecy says, from the Euphrates to the Nile, from the Great Sea, the Mediterranean out here, to as far east as Bahrain. If Israel expands its borders to that size, who's going to live there? That's bigger than half of the continental United States. There aren't enough people here to hold it. And yet there are passages and passages and passages. Prophecy the scripture's laden with all these prophecies about the restoration of Kol Israel. So this that was either lightning or it could be lightning. Let me turn the camera, but I didn't flip it. Right over here, it could be this storm, and that could have been lightning, but that was also a bright flash from over there.
Very bright.
No boom yet.
I saw that.
Yeah, peripheral vision. Kelly jumped too. So something else going on over there. Somewhere back over that direction. But there's so much prophecy about the restoration of the kingdom and the fact that the borders will be much expanded, and everybody expects, oh no, Jesus is going to come and he's going to rapture the church and we'll all be out of here and then the Jews can be dealt with. That's a bunch of hogwash. That's anti-Semitic garbage. Okay, all of the kingdom is about Israel. The kingdom is about Israel and the restoration of Kol Israel, all Israel, right? There's a book that I the idea and the pieces came together for me. I'd done a lot of reading with others that had put together parts with the two house and the restoration, and co-authored it. But my name's on the cover, titled 10 Parts in the King, and it's on Amazon, that explains and pulls together all these pieces of prophecy and talk about all of this restoration that's supposed to be happening. So that's part of what's going on here may well be involved in creating the circumstances that cause Yehuda to cry out for the Messiah. Zechariah chapter 12, I think it is, tells us that the time will come when they will look. The Most High will open their eyes. There's so many people out there that criticize Judah and say, oh, no, they don't believe in Jesus. I'm not going to have anything to do with them. You better be careful there. Because here's the deal. God specifically says, and we see this written in in Romans at the end of chapter 2, that they are the keepers of the oracles. Now, they may not have done that perfectly, but that doesn't mean that they haven't done what they're supposed to do. That's what they were called to do. And they have transported the Torah through the centuries. There are a lot of people who say, oh, no, those aren't the Jews. We're the Jews. Where were you keeping the Torah 300 years ago, 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago? Where were you keeping the Torah? Please, show me. Show me. I want to see it, right? It's not there, right? It's not there. You don't find that. What you do is you find that in communities that were pushed to the edges of the earth through pogroms and persecution, not just primarily by the church, but also by others. But we see that in Asia. We see that in Northern Europe. We see that in two parts of Africa. We see that with the Yemenite in southern Middle East. We see that with the Sephardim, the Conversos, and the Marranos that were pushed into Central and South America. But that's only one house. Where did the other house go? Where did the other 10 tribes go? We made a trip. One of the things that we did, and I'm going to put together a video eventually of all the different things that we have done, that we have gone and seen. It'll either be really long or it'll be multiple parts. I was previewing some of that today, and it's going to be a daunting task. It might not happen until I can sit down and really focus. But we went up onto Carmel, and on our way to Mount Carmel, we also went to Tel Dan. On our way to Tel Dan to see where the abomination was for the northern kingdom, where Jeroboam set up an idol and a false temple. On our way, we read 1 Kings chapters 11 and 12. If you want to see the hinge that all of Scripture swings on, it's 1 Kings chapter 12. That's the hinge for all of history, because that's the point at which the kingdom was divided, and 10 tribes went to Jeroboam, and he formed a new priesthood. He gave them new holidays, new place to worship. Same thing the church did. And later on, when the northern kingdom for their idolatry was scattered to the ends of the earth, it was partly through the vehicle of Roman Catholicism initially, but that's where we took with us the same sins of our father Jeroboam. Those who are from the northern kingdom. He's not our physical father, but he was the king of Ephraim, or from the Ephraimite, the first king from the Ephraimite dynasty. That was the king and the name bearer, Israel, for the northern kingdom. That's where the house of Israel comes from. But it was the Father's will to scatter them, so that he could scatter the seed of Abraham to the ends of the earth. And then in doing that, fulfill his promise to do the impossible and to bring them back. A lot of details in the book. 10 Parts in the King. I would recommend that. Let's see what we've got in some of the chats. I've been sitting here talking. So, Shalom, Christian. Word of the Sword, yes. Gunner, more. Absolutely. Leatherman Dan. So, Leatherman, I like to do a little leather work myself, so I quite enjoy that. Maybe we have to get connected on that. You can teach me something. It's a side hobby. It's something that I can do a little bit of. But you know, part of what's going on here, and we can take a look at everything here. This is not what Yah desires for his city, but he said he placed his name here forever. I was reading today Psalm 83, 84, and 85. I highly recommend him. 83, there was a really good book, probably 15 years ago, published by Bill Salas, titled Israelistine. And in that book, he speculates that there is a war before the Gog-Magog war that has to happen, and that war is prophesied or portent in Psalm 83. Because Psalm 83 specifically talks about Israel's neighbors, all the neighbors that surround her, seeking to destroy her, and ultimately her not just destroying them in exchange or in return, but pushing her borders way out. And this goes back to what we were talking about before. Again, the restoration of Kol Israel. So that's what's going on. I would love to answer a few questions if y'all have some questions.
Christian has one.
Christian, you see the situation more differently from being compelled. I would say so. I would believe so. Certainly right now, I know now down on the videos that I've seen of the stuff happening down around Gaza and the surprise terrorist attacks and the atrocities, absolute atrocities committed down in the communities and moshavs near Gaza. Oh, that is just some horrible, heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching stuff to watch. I've been watching that, and a lot of questions, wondering why in the world, how in the world was it possible for that large of a breach to happen in security down there? And I know that there are a number of things that are being investigated to that extent. As a civilian, it probably looks a whole lot worse, but war is ugly. War is just plain ugly. And if we go back and look at Israel fighting wars 3,000 years ago in this land, very rugged land, and it was hand to hand. Everything was up close and personal. You're going to look the guy in the eye while you're sticking your sword in him. This is nowhere near that level of challenging to deal with. Human constitution, I think today is much weaker for all of us, the humanity in general. As a ranger, I'm looking at this, and at least from this position, it reminds me, like I said, of the ground war or the air war during Desert Shield, Desert Storm. And then we went on. The ground war only lasted about 4 days or 5 days. It was very quick. And we had some short, up close, personal interaction with combatants and POWs and such. But what I've seen going on down there close to Gaza, one of the Israeli generals, senior generals, called them human animals. And I can't say that I mean, I hate to use the term animal with regards to a human, but any human that treats another human that way, to me, is just despicable. Scripturally deserving of stoning, deserving of death, judgment, the whole 9 yards. And I think there's going to be a lot of judgment. And there may well be a lot of judgment for some of the, let's see if I can get the lighting here. There may be judgment for some of those in leadership here who failed one way or another, if that's what their purpose was, in order to cause or allow things to unfold in the way that they did. Really kind of strange. So anyway, any other questions? Richard, shalom, shalom. I don't know if I can scroll back through this. I'm fairly new to the YouTube live stuff, so may have to do some more of these periodically. Happy to answer questions though. Bring ear protection to Israel when you buy them. Yeah. I will say this: this is a good land, and I will say that I would encourage you to start thinking about being here for Passover. Now things can change, and that kind of thing, but mentally start making those preparations. As far as feasts are concerned, we're commanded to come up. There are no caveats in Scripture saying, well, unless you agree with, or if you disagree with who's in charge of the country, don't go. Or if you really don't like the people that happen to be the religious leaders, don't go. You know what? You come and you worship the King. He wants to meet with you, okay? It's not about anybody else. And as long as the country's safe, and certainly until Shabbat morning, it was safer than taking a trip to Chicago, or safer than taking a trip to L.A. More people die in L.A. Or die in Chicago. More people die in Chicago on a weekend, a good weekend, than die in Israel as a result of terror in a year, with the great exception of what we've got going on right now. Very safe country. People are generally warm, friendly, inviting, fun. And it's a joy to be here. I know that Joshua and Caleb came into the land with 10 others, and the other 10, now this is 10 and 2, the other 10 may be representative of the 10 tribes, who said, oh no, it's a bad land. It consumes you, it eats you up, you don't want to be there. And what happened to them? They did not inherit the land. And I think there are a lot of people out there in the Hebrew roots and the Messianic and Torah keeping and what have you communities that yeah, we're all excited about going to Sukkot somewhere else, anywhere but here. And I think that makes the Most High sad. I really do, because his commandment is to come here. Now, it's expensive. It's not cheap. I'm going to do a video. We've been taking some clips, and I'm going to do a video on how to do this fairly inexpensively. And I would recommend, find, each fellowship or congregation, if you can't afford to come up every year or once a year or twice a year, come up every other year. Make an effort to be here. You can use your tithe for this. This is something that your tithe can be used for, right? And you're saying, well, that's using it on yourself. No, it's using it as the way Yah commanded. He commands you to put your tithe in your hand and come up here and buy food and drink and rejoice before him. So this is where the Most High says. He doesn't say somewhere else. He says here. He says here. So our plans right now, we've got flight scheduled for Friday morning, early, so we'll head for the airport Thursday night late. And that is the current plan, assuming nothing changes, as long as the airport's still open and the airline's still flying. We're currently booked with ITA, or Italia, from here to Rome, and then to JFK, I think, and then from there to home. The key is just whether or not, because Air Italia the other day canceled, and so the question is whether or not the airport's secure. We hear periodic things about the airport having rockets near it, and I know Hezbollah appears to be heating up on the northern border, and that could make things different in a hurry for the entire northern part of the country. In that circumstance, we may be here a while. So one way or the other, we'll just kind of figure it out, and we're praying, and I would ask you, if you want to pray that the Father use us however he wants to use us, okay? Pray for my family that we're separated from. My family's separated on a couple continents right now. But pray for them, because certainly they'd like to be here, or we'd like to be together, but I desire to be wherever the Father has me, and wherever the Father desires for me to be, and to serve however the Father desires for me to serve. And if that's out here helping people, do work and volunteer somewhere, so be it. But I have prayed for years. I have prayed, Father, I want to see the restoration of the kingdom with my own eyes. I want to see it with these eyes right here. And I'm not sure that I can see that necessarily from a prophetic standpoint from somewhere on the other side of the Atlantic. So if it's his will for us to be here, we'll be here. And we will joy in it and trust in him, and recognize that there's nothing anybody can do to us that he does not allow. So that's where I stand on that. So, all right, folks, I am going to cut this off. Yes, Ron, you can use your tithe. I think that is in Deuteronomy 16, but it might be in 14 as part of that. Go read Deuteronomy 14 and or 16, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. There could be other places. But yes, a portion of your tithe. The rest of it's to go to the Levites. The Christian church says, hey, bring it to us so we can build another monument to nothing. Or a monument to whatever. Just, no, that's not what it says. It's to go to the Levites and the widows and the orphans, and for you to take care of your tithe, or you to be able to travel to the feast. You're supposed to enjoy it and rejoice before Yah. So yes, go look it up, study that one out. So, all right, folks, 36 of you, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you dropping in. I will do this again, definitely before we're out of here, and see what else. Maybe we can find some other more interesting views and vistas. But for now, we're watching what the remnant of the sun setting on that portion of Jerusalem, the major portion being behind us, and back over the hills to where the center of the city is. But we'll be sitting out here this evening watching the sunset, eat some salad. Got a video call set up for a little bit later on with a couple people. So, all right, love you guys. For King and Kingdom, I bid you shalom.